Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion Knives. Live from the campus of Tom Radio, under the direction of Guido, Scoot, and Johnson, it's the pride of podcasting. It's Got Your Eers On.
All right, everybody, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
Hey.
And Johnson.
We lost the second half, Scoot.
Thank God we didn't hear that chant.
I know you love that Phog Allen chant.
You didn't really hear the Phog Allen chant. Yeah, it was rough times at the Phog Allen last week as West Virginia drops one to Kansas, 79-65. And I got to be honest with you, when I say that score, it sounds better than the second half of that game looked.
Yeah, it actually does.
I mean, I feel like I should be saying something like, 83-27 is what it felt like.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, well, the second half, for a while, there was a point, right? We were down, I think, 22 at one point. So, yeah, it actually feels closer than parts of that game. But, yeah, unfortunately, it was another tale of being in it, or in this case, actually leading in the first half. And then another one of our, I think, I read something, and I'll link to it, but I think in the 9 trips to Phog Allen, we have been leading or tied with them in almost every trip, and then lost in the second half each time. So yet again, that's what happened.
I think, and I said this when we were texting back and forth during the game, this is one of those examples of why, you look at some of these upper echelon teams, Scoot, the Gonzagas, the Kansases, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, and their recruiting is so good and their players are so good that I don't, how do you have a team like West Virginia ever catch them? And I'm not saying West Virginia's recruiting is good, and I think we're going to be happy at the end of the season with our team, and and we're going to go deep, and I think it's all good things for us. But like you had that, what was the name of the guy on Kansas who couldn't miss a 3-pointer? Like, he was throwing him out behind his back and he was nailing him.
Braun was good. Agbaji was pretty good.
I think Braun finished with 6 threes for the game. He was on fire, but he was...
Marcus Garrett was even decent, and he's not known for offense.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But, like, you watch a team like that Kansas team, and you look at how, that looked like a national championship team.
Here's the big story. And I know this sounds crazy, but Kansas shot really well. And I don't know that if they had played anybody in the Big 12 that they would have lost that game as well as they were shooting. The problem we have, the one advantage that WVU has, is the fact that we've got 2 gigantic, strong big men. The problem we have is when only one of them shows up to really play, now we better shoot the lights out, because our one advantage that we really have over most teams isn't there. It's not an advantage anymore. And Oscar, being somewhat of a shell of a player, at this point, I don't even know. He's never close to a double-double now.
He only had 3 points in the game.
And they have David McCormick, who I guess was a McDonald's All-American. I didn't realize that. So their McDonald's All-American came to play and was at least treading water with Derek Culver. And then they had no other bigs. Like, they have 0 other bigs other than David McCormick. And so that should have been an area where we could have exploited them, pound the ball inside, score a bunch in the paint, force them to have to defend that, and then open up our shooters. Well, because Oscar's a non-factor and McCormick could at least tread water with Derek Culver, our scorers better score from the outside, and we didn't necessarily do that other than Sean McNeil in the first half.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We talked a couple shows ago. I made the comment to Josh Witt from Unreasonable Doubt when he was on with us that, to me, the gold standard for Oscar is still last year at Kansas when he dominated. And I don't mean like a turn of phrase. He was just playing well. He was dominating everyone on that court. Isn't it interesting to think that's the same guy we saw barely manage 18 minutes. I think he made 1 field goal, finished, Guido, you said, with 3 points in this game. That just seems crazy.
Yeah, and this is where this is where this team worries me, because if Oscar isn't going to step up when Culver has an off game, and I'm not saying that I mean, Culver had an off game, and he's going to have those. He's had an amazing run of games up into this Kansas game, so he only had 8 points and 8 rebounds, which is off his average. If Oscar's not going to step up, then we're going to be in trouble, because we saw it. And I mean, you had McNeil, who we've been kind of railing on a little bit this season, and he finally had that breakout. Well, he had that breakout half. He, not as many opportunities in the second half. I think just because they were caught in transition so much that the second half was just rough. But, he had a great first half. You had McBride, who had a great game, 19 points. And then you had nobody inside that had a good game.
Yeah, and I think Scoot hit it on the head, though, if you want to go back to that for just a second. I think coming into the game, I was counting on us having 2 big men against 1 big man, and I thought that's where we'd have the advantage, a 2-on-1 under the bucket, because even though Kansas is big, is good and talented, he's still one dude. And I thought just for the simple fact we'd have the advantage there, our 2 powers. And really, I think the outside shooting did, kind of maybe blunt some of that, but because Derek Culver still went 4 for 9, I think, from the field. He still had 8 rebounds, like you said, Guido. I mean, for him, that's kind of an underperforming game. But for anyone, would love to have that stat line. But I think there was no challenge. Kind of like I think what Scoot's pointing out, like anytime DC got the ball, then everyone could key on him because there was no one else to really demand any attention, on the inside in the paint. So that I think for me was just really disappointing. And I guess maybe just before we get off on a tangent, I think my thought kind of leaving this game was this had to be maybe what Richmond felt like when they played us. I think, sometimes you just run into someone. That second half, they were shooting the ball so well. I think Scoot's right. I don't know that they lose to anyone in conference when they're shooting the ball that well. So, I think part of this is, look, they made 16 threes. They shot 45%, I think, for the game. You kind of got to move on. I mean, they made shots. Even like you said, Scoot, guys that don't normally make shots were even making shots. So sometimes you just got to move on. But I think it does make me worry moving forward that, yeah, I mean, Oscar is kind of like, you're starting to see Gabe even more and more and more. I think Gabe logged 24 minutes this game because Oscar is not really showing up.
Here's another concern for me. So in our starting 5, you've got Deuce McBride, who's, I believe he's leading the team in scoring. Is that right, Guido? Or pretty close to it. I mean, I know Culver was, but I'd say Deuce is now probably the lead scorer.
They're neck and neck, but yeah.
McNeil, while he's been streaky, is still, at least before the game, was hovering around 10 points a game. He had a really good night, so I'd say he's above that. You've got Derek Culver. Those 3 have been, for the most part, somewhat reliable scorers. The problems have been Oscar and Emmett Matthews. Emmett Matthews, while Oscar is disappointing, Emmett Matthews might be the key to this season. Because if he can cause defenses to have to defend him because he's so tall and he's athletic enough to get to the basket,
yeah,
he can really be a big time because he's probably mismatched almost every time somebody's defending him because they're not going to be as tall as him.
Yeah.
And he can play out on the perimeter. He can go into the paint. If he will take that next step, we see glimpses of it, and we talked a little bit with Brent about it. How you see glimpses of it, and we talked about Issa Ahmad in the past, how you would see glimpses of that, and I think that Emmett has a pulse, so he's already leaps and bounds more active than Issa Ahmad. So if Emmett will take that next step where instead of deferring to the other guys and just being that aggressive guy that we see occasionally, that's a difference maker right there. That guy alone will help us negate some of Oscar's sophomoric slump that he's in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think in the Kansas game, Emmett was active. It's just he just wasn't on. He was 3 of 11 from the field. He missed all 4 of his 3-pointers. So he did grab 6 rebounds, but he in 31 minutes, I think he would have, had he made just even a few more shots, he would have made his presence felt.
Right.
I think the other thing that really something that we don't see very often since Bob Huggins has taken over this team is that the rebounding, we don't ever get out rebounded, and we got out rebounded. And especially, again, going back to what we were talking about, where we have two bigs and Gabe Osaboyan, who comes in and plays that role, and still we get out rebounded. What was it, Johnson? 40-37?
Yeah, overall 40-37. I think, I'm trying to think, it might have been their offensive rebounds, I think, were 25-19, maybe. I'll look that back up. But I bring that up because didn't it feel like they had multiple shots? They had multiple,
right.
Like in a trip down the floor, they might get 3 and even 4 shots because they were rebounding the ball so well. And with as hot as they were shooting, that was a killer. A lot of times those rebounds then got kicked out for another 3 attempt that went in. So yeah, that was a huge problem.
The other problem I had was this game didn't even let us get mad at the refs.
No, it didn't. It didn't at all.
Like, I like to blame the refs for things.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Kansas shot the ball too well that I couldn't even get mad at the refs.
Well, and it was so weird because, the end of that first half, we had so much momentum. I mean, we were looking great. Sean McNeil shouldn't go without saying, like, the first half, if Sean McNeil could string 2 halves together playing like that, we wouldn't have lost that game. Like, so that's the first thing. The other thing that's so weird about it is so you come out in the second half, you have a 1-point lead, and then it's like it wasn't even slow motion watching it fall apart. It was like an explosion. It was like, and then all of a sudden we're down by 20. It was amazing. We went down by 20 in the first 10 minutes of that second half, and it was very uncharacteristic of this team so far this season.
Is it Dick Vitale's fault?
Dickie V's fault?
Yeah.
Well, he did. If there was anyone to get annoyed with, I think it was Dickie V as the broadcast went on. I mean, for one thing, the ESPN didn't realize the Buffalo game had been canceled. They rattled off a slate of upcoming games. I think they got completely wrong at one point. We were texting back and forth about that. And then Dickie V, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Like, anytime I know that Dickie V is included in the broadcast, I try to calm down about that a little bit because obviously he's going to talk the whole time, but he just was incessantly talking over every part of the action of this game.
It's like stream of conscious talking. Like, it's not even sometimes it's not even about the basketball game. It's like high schools.
It could be about
baseball.
Being in Florida. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and I don't need to hear anything about the Tampa Bay Rays. Come on, leave me alone, Dickie V. So, all in all, not a great game at the Phog, Allen. We, had our issues. We did see Huggins has continued to shorten the bench up.
Yeah.
I mean, the only people we saw come off the bench, 3 guys came off the bench other than that. 3 guys. So Osaboyan, Sherman, Scooch, Jordan McCabe came off the bench, and Isaiah Cottrell. Is that what we're going with?
I think we're going to go with Cottrell.
Cottrell, right? So Isaiah Cottrell, he came off the bench. So we didn't see Bridges. We didn't see, Kedrian Johnson. We didn't see anybody else deeper on the bench come off.
Guido, funny, though, if you look at Gabe's stat line, it's so Gabe.
Yes.
0 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists.
Yeah,
right? That's such a Gabe stat line.
And here's the thing about him. I know, and Scoot's going to hate me for this because Scoot likes flash. Like, Scoot wants to see guys do jump shots and run and burn into the middle of the paint. I love watching Gabe play basketball. It's so awesome just to see him. He's so big. His arms are ginormous.
He's just always working.
And he's everywhere. But he doesn't do anything flashy, Scoot.
He takes a lot of charges.
I mean, it's fun I feel like it's really fun to watch him play.
But don't you think, just as a counter argument, because I mean I do too, but back to what we were talking about with usually Gabe, when Oscar sits, it's usually Gabe then that picks up the minutes, and I think you could see that here. Gabe was in, I think, 24 minutes this game, so they were definitely split in time, and it's actually interesting to me now to see that tip even in Gabe's favor now. Gabe had 24 minutes to Oscar's 18 in this game. That's fine, and I love it too to see Gabe come in and get that work done, but he's not a scoring threat, and we're reminded about that again in this game when he ends with 0 points. So, to me, that's what exacerbates Oscar's current situation, because we don't sub in a scorer when he leaves. So if he's not scoring, it's one thing.
It feels like Oscar's even forgotten to run. I don't like it when he runs. It looks awkward. It's just everything about him looks uncomfortable. to watch.
Well, he's definitely in his head right now.
He's fumbling the basketball. He doesn't grab it. I mean, the guy is the strongest guy on the court almost. I mean, within reason, Derek Culver may be stronger, but those two are the strongest two guys on the basketball. Like, when he grabs a basketball, it should worry about being deflated, the ball. Like, the ball should be like, oh, crap, this guy's grabbing me. Like, and he's, like, catching it. It's like trying to watch him catch a feather. Like, it's, like, ridiculous. Like, I don't understand.
Well, don't you also notice, because I remember us talking about it early in the season, and now I just see it randomly on Twitter. You guys think about when we've texted each other, Oscar knows he can dunk, right? And then I'll be reading through Twitter, and other people will say literally, Oscar knows he can dunk the ball, right?
It's
and
like he's afraid to. It's like he got yelled at, and
right.
It's like some
his finishing
Pavlovian
around
experience. That he wants
like
to
that might be the best thing he does is dunk a basketball. And if he's not going to do that, we got problems.
What do you think about, because I thought about this after the game the other day. Part of it reminds me of, like, when you're new at doing, just work with me here because I don't have a good analogy, but when you're new at doing something and you don't know what you're not supposed to be able to do, and so you do certain things and people are like, like maybe a kid is new to a sport and they're just, they're doing everything right. They don't really know what they can or can't do yet, with their abilities. Oscar almost looks to me now this season like, not that he's been coached wrongly, but it's almost like the coaching is now in his head, and instead of just reacting, he's now like catching it and then thinking what he's supposed to do instead of just acting and reacting.
Yeah, it's like he's thinking about footwork or something.
It's something, because you'll notice when he gets the ball down for like a bunny, he'll miss it, and it almost looks to me like he's trying too hard to think like, okay, like what are my mechanics supposed to be or something. I don't know. I was trying to think about it the other day.
I've been yelled at for something similar to this. I don't want to do that again. While he's doing that, he loses the ball because he's worried about getting yelled at or worried about doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's what it is. Like, because I'm not getting on the coaching, but it almost makes me wonder, like, is something in his head where he's just overthinking it now instead of reacting?
I know that I've read that Hugs and the coaching staff, I think they've alluded to Oscar realizing that Oscar is now a big deal. Like, I think after last season, Oscar kind of like, maybe it all hit him once the season was over. Like, holy crap, I'm pretty good at this and pretty popular, and people like me because of it.
And this could be a big thing.
Yeah. And they said that at least I feel like Huggins has kind of hinted at the fact that maybe Oscar should have been working harder in the off season as opposed to enjoying some of the fame that he received. Yeah. So maybe that's some of the issue. I don't know. And
I think that the one thing that a basketball season can afford you more than any other sport a lot of times is that he's got plenty of time now to straighten that out.
Yeah, that's true.
If he gets on fire in the next 2 weeks, we'll forget all about what's been happening the month of December.
And that's a good point.
And I think that that's one thing about basketball, that can afford him that ability to just be like, you know what, that was yesterday, let's deal with today. Football is not as much, baseball is sort of day in, day out, so you get into that groove and it's hard to get out of that groove. But basketball, because of the way that hockey might be the same, but I don't know anything about hockey.
But you're right. There's time to like course correct and
and there's enough practices and there's enough things in the middle of it to help break it up. I'm gonna channel though my inner Josh Witt for just 1 second and say something good about this game, which is, and Josh said it when he was on our show, and we're not stats guys as much as he is, but WVU's been averaging 40% this season from the field. They shot, guess what? 41% from the field, both halves. So first half they shot 41%, second half they shot 40%. It averaged out to 41%. So the question really is if that West Virginia team that played in Phog Allen last week shows up this week at, the historic almighty Gallagher Eba Arena.
It's so ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
To play Oak State or whatever it might be, like, does that West Virginia team beat all of or most of the other, Big 12 teams? And I think the answer to that's probably yes. I think West Virginia, probably outside of maybe Baylor, I think West Virginia could probably handle any other team playing the way that they played against Kansas. I just think that the problem is just like what you said, Johnson, like just like when we played Richmond, you couldn't stop Kansas.
Yeah.
You know? I think Kansas could have beat anybody that day.
I do too.
So I think that's sort of the challenge. So West Virginia drops a game to Kansas, 79-65. A lot of games coming up between now and our next show, guys. A lot of basketball coming up between now and when we release our next show. So we've got Buffalo is gone. They got COVID.
Right.
And so they're out. And so we got the powerhouse Northeastern, which I didn't even know Scoot had a basketball team.
That's the school that Jim Calhoun built.
So
Jimmy Calhoun, that's where he started. Was there, and then he went to UConn.
Scoot, is this the Northeastern in Louisiana that we've played in the tournament
No, this is
before?
the one in Boston.
Boston. Yeah.
Oh,
This
okay.
is, I believe, J.J. Barea went to Northeastern, former
Okay.
NBA guard, maybe still NBA guard, played for the Mavericks. I don't know if there's any other famous NBA players that went to the Northeastern.
So that replaces Buffalo. Do you think this was another Josh Eilert gets on the horn?
Get on the bat
I'd
phone.
say there's got to be a connection to the coaching staffs. I mean, I don't know if it's Huggins knows the staff well, but there's probably a connection, whether it be through our coaching staff or maybe even Shane Lyons knows some people that are in the athletics department over at Northeastern. I know that there's a lot of moving parts, right? So you've got to make sure schedules line up. You've got to make sure, so that only allows certain teams, and then some schools don't want to travel or don't, so there's a lot of I think what they do is they get maybe 4 or 5 teams kind of lined up, and then if one says yes, they go with whichever one says yes first.
Yeah, well,
and then,
that would make sense. Yeah.
So Northeastern currently is 1-4 with a win against a former A10 foe of ours, UMass. So
Okay.
What I'm curious is, so typically these are buy-in games, right? So I'm sure WVU is probably paying something for Buffalo to come. So because Buffalo cancels, I wonder if in their contract there's a clause that gets them out of paying some amount of money, or is there a buyout where we have to pay some amount of money?
I would imagine this season it probably, the way it works is that it's probably just like contract canceled, and then they offer Northeastern the same or less money or whatever.
I'm just curious legally if you're allowed to break some of those contracts, because I'm sure when they made the contracts they weren't necessarily
thinking about
right.
COVID.
Maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe it depends on when these games were lined up.
So, anyways, we play Northeastern. That's on ESPN Plus on Tuesday, the 29th at 2 p.m.
So, Scoot, you can use your ESPN Plus
I'll be on
account
it
again.
I will be on it at 9 p.m. I like those.
No, that's a Tuesday. That's a 2 p.m. game.
Yeah,
So
2
it's
p.m.
in the middle of the day. So
Yeah.
2 p.m.
Right.
2 p.m. after lunch, but before dinner.
Oh, I'm on it. I'm on it.
Watch
then.
some basketball. All right. And then we hit the road, guys, and then things start to move and happen. So
we're barnstorming the state of Oklahoma.
Then we go on an Oklahoma trip. So then Saturday, the 2nd, we travel to Norman to go to the Lloyd Noble Center.
Historic Lloyd Noble.
No, it's not historic. I don't think
It's not
We go to
historic. It's
Lloyd
brand new. The
Noble-
brand new Lloyd Noble Center.
What did we say that? I think that was from a BTF a while back. We said it was like the big wagon wheel or something.
Yeah.
We tried to give it a name. It apparently didn't stick.
That's Oklahoma on the 2nd, Saturday the 2nd, and then Monday the 4th we stay in Oklahoma. I'm assuming that we're not coming back to Morgantown, and we're just staying in Oklahoma because we travel to Stillwater and play at Scoot's favorite location in.
It's historic.
It's historic.
It's probably on the
Gallagher,
National
Iowa.
Register of Places. We'll have to check
it
that out.
says it in the name, Scoot.
I mean,
So-
I love that place, and I love Hilton Magic. There's nothing more magical than Iowa State.
Yes.
Let me tell you. Iowa State in the middle of January or February, nothing more
man.
magical.
Magical.
Magical places to play, Scoot. So I'm not sure, guys, how much Northeastern is going to be a test for this team, how much we'll learn from watching this game on Tuesday before we head back into Big East play. So.
Yeah, probably not a whole lot, but I think there is a nice opportunity there in that two game trip in Oklahoma. Pick up 2 conference wins. I think hopefully the Northeastern game is one of those games where you don't want to get anybody hurt. You don't want to have anything like that happen, but I'd love to be talking about 3 wins when we get back together.
What do you think happens when the rankings come out this week? Where do we fall after that loss to Kansas? Kansas was ranked 3rd. We were ranked, what, 9th?
7th. We were 7th. I think we stay, I'd say definitely stay in the top 15. I don't know. I'm going to guess like 14, maybe 13.
Yeah, I'd say similar because, Guido, I think it's a bad look. I think when we lost to Gonzaga, we could hang our hat on not only were they number 1, but we played them to the end, and that was a super, 2-possession game at the end.
And that loss is going to help us in a way because, other teams are just getting crushed by them. And we did not.
Yeah, I don't
that
know.
Virginia game?
Yeah, that's a good point. Virginia got annihilated yesterday by Gonzaga, but I think this really was a bad look because there was quite a build-up for this Kansas game, and the second half really was a bad look for us. But I would be shocked if we fell out of the top 15.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if we fell out of the top 15. I mean, I see us maybe dropping 2-3 spots. We might even stay in the top 10 or be at 10. Because again, it's one of those situations where both of our losses come against teams that are in the top 3. We lost to a number 1 ranked team and a number 3 ranked team. But I agree with you. I think if it had been a closer game, at the Phog Allen, that it would have been a little bit more palatable for the press to not knock us down.
Can I ask you one last thing too before we break from basketball talk? Do you think, part of me was super disappointed in this because I couldn't help but think that if there was ever an opportunity to go into Phog Allen, it would be with this team and no fans in the stands for them, right. Scoot. So it's
fans. They still had people there. But.
Yeah, I guess they had a handful, but it was limited seating, just like at the Coliseum. So anyway, I was just disappointed that we couldn't get this one.
From here on out, some of our listeners may or may not know this, that Johnson records our podcast, from his Phog, which is the finished room over garage. From here on forth, I am declaring his recording studio the Phog Allen Studio.
The Phog Allen Studio at Johnson Enterprise.
Yes. The historic Phog Allen.
Historic Phog Allen.
I will only accept this if we throw a historic in there.
Historic Phog Allen, coming to you live from historic Phog Allen.
All right. Well, listen, let's take a break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about this bowl game and see who we're actually playing this week in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Eers On. Vortec Knives is a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in high quality steel, fast opening, everyday carrying knives. If you go to vortechknives.com today and use the code GYEO, you get a 25% discount on your entire order. That's Vortech, VORTEK knives.com, a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in fast opening, high quality, everyday carry knives. Vortec Knives. All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Eers On. Guido along with Scoot and Johnson. Don't forget, you can find us on the social medias. Look for us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Eers. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Eers On. We're also on Twitch now. So starting in 2021, we'll be broadcasting our recording of our show live on Twitch most weeks. So you can find us Got Your Eers On Twitch as well. And guys, the cool thing about that for our listeners are they're going to be able to ask us questions during the Twitch, so they can chat us in and stuff. And on top of that, you get to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff that's ridiculous that you wouldn't normally get to see, like Scoot saying something dumb and then I edit it out or something like that, right?
That never happens.
Yeah, I mean, just as a for example. I don't know why that one immediately comes to your mind, but
or Scoot's internet not working and me editing.
Yeah, I mean,
also it doesn't happen. Fake news.
All right, guys. So it's bowl season. I feel like it's such a weird year for me with football in general, even with NFL and in college. Like, I usually watch as many bowl games as I can watch, and I feel like this year I'm totally slacking on that as well. Like, I'm not watching a ton of bowl games.
Some of the issue is they're at, like, you think there's a bowl game, but then it's canceled or something's off with the bowl game. Like, and some of them aren't even. I feel like the networks aren't even sure if the bowl games are going to happen, so they've not put as much effort into them.
Right. Well, and on top of that, we've only had the weird kind of bowls. I mean, only 2 ranked teams have played so far, and Marshall played and got beat on Christmas Day. And poor Grant Wells, he looked rough during that game, and I know he's a West Virginia guy.
Isn't that an odd thing, though? I mean, our Marshall, animosity aside, isn't that just a weird, that's a team that went from averaging, 35, 40 points a game. These last 3 games, I think they mustered 20 total points.
They were a top 15 ranked team
at
one
just so
point.
Weird. And
the wheels came off.
I was a Grant Wells fan. I mean, I like the in-state recruits, and he had a solid season up to these last 3 games. Now I think they pretty much want to run him and the coaching staff out of Huntington. So it's
what's
just an
most
odd
puzzling
thing
to me about that game was the fact that Doc Holliday was wearing a mask and a mask.
Yeah, he wears the mask and then the gaiter over the mask.
And it was I feel like it was a legit good mask on the first mask, like maybe an N95 or a KN95 or something. I mean, it looked like industrial grade. And then he goes with the gaiter over top.
Is that to hold the mask? Is he just trying to keep look cool?
Oh, you think he's inserting? There's no strings attached. Kind of like a lot of my relationships back in college. No strings attached. He slid the old mask in to the gaiter.
And then you had that crazy game this past weekend with Liberty and Coastal Carolina. The Shants, who have been ranked, they were 12th in the nation, and they're like all the rage this year.
Trying to go undefeated.
Yeah, trying to go undefeated. Loses one to Liberty, which I still don't understand how Liberty has a college football team, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, and a very good one.
And a very good one this year. So
Hugh Freeze got off the hospital bed in the press box and was actually down on the field. He does well coaching in the hospital. Last year he coached in a hospital bed in the press box, I think.
Well, the end of that game was crazy. I think Liberty blocks a Coastal field goal attempt in overtime, right, to seal the win. So that was pretty crazy. But yeah, Guido, I've been the same way. Outside of a few bowl games, I really haven't paid a whole lot of attention yet.
Yeah, so we finally, though, kick into some more ranked teams this week. We've got Oklahoma State plays Miami on Tuesday. Texas plays on Tuesday as well. What else we have? We've got, Florida, Oklahoma coming up. But we also have an exciting bowl game that we're allegedly going to be in. So as we record this show, we're still playing our bowl game.
Yeah, as of right now, we are still there.
AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and we have a new opponent. So last week when we talked, it was Tennessee, and then 24 hours after the podcast dropped, Tennessee decided not to play, and we get Army, which some people are super excited about. Most people are not, including Scoot. You're not too excited about this game.
Well, I mean, it's going to put us on a national stage. That, I guess, is one benefit. However, it's going to put us on a national stage in which we will very well struggle. And that's not going to be a good look.
Well, and you're kind of like, don't you feel like when you play one of the service academies, you're like the designated enemy team to root against, right?
Like it's the United States against us.
Right.
Like the entire United States is going to be like,
if you're
screw West Virginia.
Right. If you're a casual football fan tuning in, you're pulling for Army.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah, right. It's going to be another one of those, just like, Owen Schmidt in the old Orange Bowl. Like, it's going to be the whole country is going to be Army, and then like West Virginia will just be West Virginia.
Well, and I think, isn't it interesting that I went from almost borderline anger at playing Tennessee because I didn't like being put against a 3-7 team, I think is what they were. They're kind of a lost program right now. Scoot and I were talking about how, you don't put a whole lot into bowl wins and losses, but if you do lose that, man, that's kind of a dark cloud. Now you flip I almost had a polar opposite feeling to this. I was like, oh man, Army's like red hot. They're 9-2. I was almost like crap.
One of their losses against a great Cincinnati team.
So now it's like, man, I think it's easier to get up for this, but I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm nervous for, this isn't your normal Army team. This is a great team.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing though, like you say that, Johnson, but like and then I go back and I think about, like, look at the teams that West Virginia played this season, and then like listen to some of these teams that Army has beaten this season. So Army beat Middle Tennessee State. Army beat Abilene Christian. Army beat Mercer College. Like, so.
What are the mascots for those first 3 teams?
Okay, here you. I couldn't tell.
Ooh.
I know the first one.
What was the first one?
Middle Tennessee State. I have no idea. What's Middle Tennessee?
Johnson, don't look it up. Don't look. You're looking it up.
No, I'm not looking it up. I can't place it offhand.
Any
What
guesses?
I don't know.
What is it,
I
Scoot?
believe it's a Blue Raider
Oh, I think they are the Blue Raiders. You're right. Yeah, now that
with
you
a
say
horse
that.
with a horse
I don't know
logo.
what
They are.
I don't know what Mercer is though.
I do know Mercer. Mercer Bears.
That's correct.
Wow.
That is
Abilene
correct.
Christian.
There's no way that you know Abilene Christian.
They got to be the Cowboys.
No.
Ooh.
Try again.
Donkeys.
No, they're not the Donkeys. I do like they are Willie the Wildcat. Willie the Wildcat is Abilene Christians. It's like a cougar, a wild animal. Yeah, so anyways, Army has played teams that are like, well, not that exciting, I guess. And like we're playing, Oklahoma's, we're playing Baylor's, we're playing big name teams.
Yeah, well, that actually makes me feel a little bit better. So maybe you're saying maybe curb the enthusiasm on those 9 wins a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying that 9 wins. I think we would have had a 9-win season if we'd played those teams.
Okay, so like this podcast is an ebb and flows, right? So you're going to curb your enthusiasm on the 9 wins. Now I'm going to tell you that they run the triple option and you never know where the ball's being run from. Yes. And we did so well when Texas Tech had the quarterback, the guy with the long, ridiculous hairdo.
Yes.
And we couldn't find him, and he ran like a wild man.
Yeah, Baby Giraffe. He ran for, he was like the Gale Sayers.
Yeah, he kind of was like a giraffe mixed with Boner Stabone from Growing Pains.
And he looked like Walter Payton out there against us. So, yeah, that's a concern.
Yeah.
I hear you. And
I never want to be compared to a giraffe and Boner Stabone in the same
I know.
sentence.
There was a giraffe and Boner Stabone in one sentence.
That's tough.
I feel like it's totally accurate, though.
That's tough to deal with.
So I hear you, Scoot. And I hope that, maybe the defense we can have, maybe we'll have one of those good defensive games where we can stop an offense that we're not used to stopping. But here's the thing. I mean, right now, I feel like, and Army, by the way, and this is another thing against us, Army, by the way, is receiving votes. So they're not ranked, but if you did rankings, they would be like 28.
What are we receiving?
We're not receiving any votes.
Not receiving any votes?
No.
Okay.
So it's that I get it. And it's good. I still trust the climb, Scoot. You don't trust the climb.
I know I do not.
I trust
not
the
right
climb.
now. I do not. Not with that quarterback. Listen,
Scoots at base camp.
I want to trust the climb. I do. But I cannot trust the climb if we're going to trot out a facilitator.
So let me. Okay, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into a quarterback conversation.
He's baiting
It's just going to
you.
be frustrating.
He's baiting you.
He is baiting me. Let me ask you this question, Scoot. So let's say West Virginia comes out and wins this bowl game against Army right now. Is that a good win for West Virginia? Are you happy with that pick for West Virginia? Are you happy with that win for West Virginia?
For me, this is going to sound crazy.
Let me go back and say right now, West Virginia is a favorite in this game, 7.5-point favorite in this game
for
against
me,
Army.
I think for your climb and for your fellow climbers' sake, and for all of our good friends at North Face and anyone else that likes to climb, you need to win this game. You need to win this game. This is a must-win game for your climbing. Otherwise, I think.
Here's the thing, Scoot. This is one of the. I hate agreeing with you. It's like the most painful thing for me when it comes to talking football. I agree with you. Like I feel like if we win this game against Army, which Army has a better record than us, even though they've beaten teams that we could easily beat. If we win this game against Army, I feel like I'm going to go into 2021 riding the Neil Brown bandwagon and happy and excited about the team. I feel like if we lose this game to Army, it's the other end of the spectrum. I'm going to be like, what's going on?
Especially if it's a bad loss. Like if it's a loss where it feels like we didn't even get off the plane. We're not even in Memphis.
Right. So
then are we to say then, as far as the climb is concerned, that Army is like a big Sherpa
We need to get on that Sherpa's back early.
That's right.
And if we don't get on that Sherpa's back, do they climb? Like, when you go with a Sherpa, like, I assume this is some guy that, like, knows the lay of the land. It's kind of like a river guide or something.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
that's the idea.
Yeah.
And they, like,
And if by river you mean mountain, then yes.
like
that's
but they typically don't look like they're ready to climb anything, right? They look like they just show up in a bunch of fur coats and are ready to walk up the hill.
I mean, yeah, that sounds very Hollywood Sherpa, but yes, like I mean,
that's very Scoot watching a TNT movie Sherpa.
That's very Indiana Jones Temple of Doom Sherpa that you're painting.
Is there an application process to be a Sherpa? Like, do you have to go through an interview? And
No, I feel like I feel like it's more like, town folk just sort of decide.
Handed down through the generations.
Yeah.
Johnny,
Yeah.
he's a good climber.
Yeah.
He'll take you.
His dad used to climb the mountain. His grandfather before him.
Right.
That kind
Long
of
line
My
of
dad was an
climbers.
electrician. Would you trust me to rewire your house?
That's
Exactly.
a
My
big
point
negative,
exactly.
That's
Just
a big negative.
because your dad was a Sherpa doesn't mean you know the hell.
But Scoot, let me ask you this. Let me ask you directly this, though, and I think I already know the answer. But regardless, so let's say they do beat Army. Let's say they beat Army convincingly. Are you any more trusting of the climb than you were right now?
Yes, in the sense that I feel like moving forward, like Guido said, you need to have some momentum. I think and we're going to talk a little bit about this here in a second, but the news of some of the recruiting and some of the transfers and some of the things that we're hearing, they all sound very positive. That's all good until you do something on the field. So if you're actually doing something positive on the field, that's probably going to lend itself to getting more transfers, getting more recruits, and things of that sort. If you are horrific in this game, you're going to have a lot of guys doubting themselves, like, what am I committing to? Why am I going here? Maybe I should think about
no,
going
that's a good
somewhere
point.
else.
I like that. I like that
agree.
answer.
I
That's a
agree
good
with
point.
you. That's a good point. And I feel like, I honestly feel like that we're going to start when we do our shows in August of 2021 and we're getting ready to talk about football season. I almost feel like the collective opinion from all of West Virginia fans, but us too, is going to be like, well, let's just throw 2020 out because it was COVID. It was crazy. Nothing was normal. Nothing was regular, and I feel like it'll just be like this big asterisk of a season that'll be pushed off to the side and that we'll never use it to balance any other season off of.
Well, and that may very well be the case, Guido.
And so, but I agree with you, Scoot. Like, I think you need the win to feel good, though.
Well, let me say this, even more so, it's even more important for recruiting purposes because of how the dead period for colleges with recruiting, I mean, it continuously gets pushed farther and farther back.
Further and further
so
out. Yeah, right.
we're not bringing kids on campus. And to me, that's probably one of the biggest selling points as a recruiter would be, we got to get these guys here so they can see what it's like, get in the atmosphere.
Well, in the atmosphere and the fans in the stands.
There's no
the
atmosphere, and they can't even come and see the other kids going
the
to
RVs
classes
in the
and
blue
stuff.
lot.
Yeah,
all of that. Right.
They're not doing any of that. So the only way some of these recruits are going to, like, especially outside our local area, like, if you're trying to get recruits out of Florida, the only way they're going to see us is playing Army because that's going to be a pretty, it'll be a bowl game that people tune in on.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you suck, who's going to want to go there? And you know how it is when you're sitting around with your buddies and they hear you've committed to West Virginia, who just got crushed by Army, a school that's got, a bunch of 2-star, 3-star guys, and you can't even, hold water with them.
Right.
You're going there? Why are you going there, man? You could have gone to all these other places. Why are you going there? So now all of a sudden it gets in those guys' heads. So it's a big game.
So let's talk a little bit about that game, guys. So West Virginia plays Army in the Liberty Bowl on New Year's Eve. It's a 4:30 kickoff. Let's make some predictions. I'll go first. I'm feeling confident about the game. I'm feeling like we're going to win. My biggest thing is trying to come up with a score with numbers that are realistic, because I feel like we can hold Army from scoring. Even though I agree with you, Scoot, the triple option, and we had trouble with it or similar style offenses earlier, I feel like this is a defense that Army hasn't seen. I mean, you got to remember, at one point we were the number 1 ranked defense in the country, and we were still losing games. So I'm going to go with WVU 21. I'm going to say we put 21 on Army. Army only scores 10. We cover the spread, which is 7.5 points.
Ooh.
What do you think, Scoot?
I am leaning the complete opposite direction. I'm going to say...
Don't do this. Don't pick Army, man.
I'm going to say Army. I'm going to say Army... I'm going to say Army 31 is the number that sticks out in my head.
Oh.
WVU 14.
Right now, Darius Stills is throwing that brand new wallet I got him
Well,
at his iPhone.
listen, it's not going to be Darius's fault. I can tell you that much. It will not be Darius's fault that it's a 31-14. He's going to do his job. And the defensive
31.
line is going to do their job. I worry about what's behind him, especially now that, Tony Fields isn't going to be there. So the two-man came out, and I think Jared Bartlett is in Tony Fields' spot. And at one point, Jared Bartlett was like the talk of the town, according to that one announcer that is the only announcer that has talked about Jared Bartlett before that and after that and since then. So hopefully Jared is ready for the task. Dylan Tonkery, some of those guys at the second level are ready because they're going to be seeing guys show up in their area with the ball pretty quick.
Johnson?
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do what Scoot just did. I think for me, though, it's going to be really low scoring because I think the defense shows up, but, this whole triple option thing is a cause for concern. I just, again, I'm not sure what points we're going to generate. I think, to be honest with you, I think we also generate yards and points on the ground. I'm hoping it's something that, where we can get Letty going a little bit. So I'm going to say low scoring game. I still think WVU wins. I'm going to go 24-14 WVU.
I mean, I'm with you, Johnson. You and I are in the same boat. We'll see what happens
when we
come back.
I want to be wrong.
I hope you're wrong, Scoot. I hope you're wrong. So we'll find out. Don't forget to watch that game. Other football news, guys. And I guess we'll start off with sort of the biggest news that came out this week. Doug Nestor, offensive lineman from Virginia Tech from Spring Valley, signs with WVU. And Johnson, it's kind of an interesting move for him.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly the talk all over Twitter, and everyone's super excited, and rightly so. I mean, this is someone who was highly recruited. He had 17 starts at Virginia Tech, and I think
5-star recruit for them.
He should be immediately eligible. So it's someone that, not only if you're a homer like me and you love that he's from Spring Valley and he'll join the likes of Zach Frazier and some other in-state guys that we already love, but also a guy like this, I have to think immediate impact. I mean, that's someone you can slot right in and just immediately bolster the capability of your offensive line.
Well, and you talk about an offensive line that might be close to an all West Virginia offensive line.
Yeah, I think that's so cool.
You have the potential of having 3 starters next year if Wyatt Milam can get the start. You have 3 guys that are going to be West Virginia guys.
There's even some talk that I imagine it's maybe more so pressure than anything real, that Darnell Wright from Huntington, who's a starter on the offensive line at Tennessee, there's a lot of pressure for him to even transfer to WVU. So here's my question, Johnson. You kind of come from the same area that a lot of these guys are coming out of, Spring Valley, and that was Cerrito Canova, and what is the other schools that came out of there? Buffalo Wayne or something. I think there was 3 schools.
Like Wayne County area, yeah.
And then Darnell Wright being in Huntington, you being what is now a Cabell Midland. What would be Cabell Midland. So the real story is, did Don Nealon miss something back in the day, back in the early 90s? Did he miss out on a potential in-state guy?
Well, I mean, Scoot, apparently I had been drinking different water than the water that they're drinking
So
in
you're
Spring
not 6'5
Valley.
plus and over 300 bills?
No, that missed me, unfortunately. No.
So that's exciting news, though. I mean, it's exciting to see him come back. I guess my question is, after so many starts at Virginia Tech, why leave Virginia Tech? I mean, it's not like it's a big D1 school. What makes you leave Virginia Tech and come back to West Virginia?
Yeah, I think right now it's the current situation at Virginia Tech is the impression I get. It sounds like there's a lot of folks hitting the transfer portal, and it's interesting to see how, for someone that they thought was going to be a savior and kind of even pick up and build on, Beamer ball, it seems like it's gone exactly the opposite. And it makes me wonder if they're actually going to be looking for a coaching change here soon.
Well, they also lost another offensive lineman, Brian Hudson, too, transferred out. So, I mean,
that could be position coach, though. I mean, we don't really know. That could be position coach. That could be. That's right. And it doesn't hurt that a teammate in Wyatt Milam is now at WVU. Malashevich, is that how you say his last name?
Yeah.
Grayson Malashevich, also a Spring Valley guy. Plus, we just had, was last night, Corbin Page is the first committed recruit for the 2022 class, a 4-star tight end from Spring Valley. So I don't know what happens in Spring Valley, but for whatever reason, there is some sort of mutation going on where these guys are ginormous. I want to say gigantic and ginormous at the same time. I want to say ginamorous.
I think you just coined a new phrase there.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see. What's the coach at Spring Valley? Brian
We should almost get our buddy Troy Lilly on to talk to us about Spring Valley to see what it is that they do.
But I think, Guido, to me, Virginia Tech, they finished out the season. I think they lost 4 of their last 5. One of those losses was to Liberty, who we talked about earlier. I think, people there are just kind of souring on the state of the program, and I think it's sending a lot of these guys looking elsewhere. So
it's an interesting move. Other interesting news, though, is some guys that are on this year team that were seniors or are seniors are actually going to take an extra year that they get for free. So Evan Staley and Alonzo Adai coming back to have their second, maybe in some cases third senior year. So that's kind of interesting to see, that they get that free year of eligibility. You saw Darius, and we expected Darius to put out that he wasn't going to take that extra year of eligibility next year, and he's going to the NFL draft. But you see guys like Alonzo Adai, who Alonzo had a great season.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything to scoff about, had a really good season coming back next year. And how much does that help bolster having a 6th-year senior come back and help you?
Well, and I think I've read somewhere that he and Jamal really had a good time playing and working together with that family connection, being cousins. I think Alonzo's made comments about how he didn't realize how fun it would be to play, for and with your cousin. So,
right. So that's good to hear. And Evan Staley coming back. I mean, the kicking game. Evan never really had a bad game, so I think it's
coming off an injury. That makes sense too. Didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Right. That'll be his 6th season. So I think it's interesting. To me, especially someone like Alonzo Adai, anyone on this defense that we can get to return. This defense has been such a positive, bright spot for the team. I think that's great. So I was excited to read that.
I'm just another master's program away. Just throwing that out there.
Scoot's still got that eligibility.
Just throwing that out there. I could be.
We're gonna be looking for a punter.
Which foot you want me to kick with? I can do it either way. I'll go Australian rules style. I'll run out to the right or the left and give a little boot to it.
They're gonna need a long snapper next year, Scoot. I mean, I think you've got the height to be a long snapper.
I could be a long snapper. And here lately, I've been putting on the weight to be a long snapper, so I could probably do it. I'm probably really fulfilling that.
You got the height and the COVID weight, so that's good. So, maybe we'll reach out to Rex and see if he can teach you a little bit of something. So, anyways, don't forget, WVU plays in the Liberty Bowl against Army. By the way, we didn't say this before. Army has won their last 3 bowl games, so that's a little scary. WVU plays Army New Year's Eve. That's a 4:30 kickoff on ESPN, so definitely check that out, and don't forget to watch it. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break and come back with a segment we haven't had for a couple of weeks. Kind of excited to have it. A little segment we like to call, I Can't Believe My Ears. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Ears On.
Tactical Legion Knives, a West Virginia owned and operated company that specializes in heavy-duty tactical knives and gear for the professional warrior, the weekend warrior, and the outdoor warrior. Our products are built tough. For who? For warriors. Hey Mountaineer fans, make sure you go on Amazon and search Tactical Legion Knives, and when you do, make sure you put in the promo code 25TOBRADIO for Tob Radio. You'll get 25% off on Tactical Legion Knives.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Eers On, Guido along with Scoot and Johnson. And don't forget, check out our website, gotyourearson.com. You can find merch, you can find information about a show, you can listen to the show, everything, right, Johnson?
Yeah, it's all right on the site. So go to gotyourearson.com. You can see the link for merch right at the top. That'll take you to the merch store where you can maybe get a pullover guy shirt, Guido, or any number of things there. And then you can listen to the show right in the sidebar through the TuneIn link that's provided. And as always, we will put up the next blog post with links to all the stuff we talked about, probably some stuff we didn't even get to. So check it out.
Yeah, check it out. gotyourearson.com. Well, it's been almost a month since we've allowed Scooty to open up his web browser and find something ridiculous. And so we decided, since it's the holidays, we should do something nice for him. So here's where we allow Scoot to tell us something that we can't believe in a little segment we like to call, I Can't Believe My Ears. What do you got for us, Scoot?
Okay, I like to eat food. I'm sure you guys do as well.
Okay.
Are you guys fast food guys?
No, I mean...
it depends on what fast food we're talking about.
Let's first say this about Johnson. Johnson is a fast food guy, but it's only like one or two fast food places. Like Johnson eats daily at either the Chick-fil-A or the Chipotle. So he eats at one of them two places.
Would you consider? I would consider Chipotle fast food, though, right?
Yeah, it's fast food. It's like fast casual. It's like Panera.
Right?
It's fast food, but it's like fancy fast food.
It's sort of like a bit fancier.
Scoot doesn't do fancy fast food.
I do any fast food. I'm not afraid.
No, you don't do a Panera or a Chipotle.
Yeah, I do a Panera macaroni and cheese until they put a lot of milk product in there, and then I'm in trouble. But
always comes back to
I
cheese.
feel like you're more of a hit the Wendy's, hit the Hardee's.
I mean, no, Hardee's I do not do, but I will for a small fee. If they would like to sponsor this segment, I will be a Hardee's guy through and through. Bring your thick burger on over here.
Okay.
McDonald's. Do you fellas ever frequent the McDonald's?
I like a McDonald's breakfast and coffee.
Yeah, breakfast usually, yeah.
Okay. Well, they have a new burger out.
Okay.
If you live in China,
I don't.
You could potentially get your hands on a McDonald's sandwich that is made of Spam topped with Oreo cookies.
What?
And to give a little bit of a condiment to it, they go with mayo on top.
Okay, I can see the Spam and the mayo. Those probably complement each other. Oreo cookies?
Yeah, where does the Oreo
cookies?
come
The sandwich
in?
is made of 2 slices of Spam, some Mondelez International's Oreo cookies topped with mayonnaise. It's part of the members only promotion released on Mondays in China.
Wait, do you have to be a member to get this sandwich?
Apparently, yes. I guess you have to be a member. There are, let's see. They planned to sell no more than 400,000 of these little babies, these lunch meat burgers.
Sounds like a lot to me.
When you hate someone but have to invite them to dinner, you can ask them to eat a McDonald's Oreo lunch meat burger. Somebody said.
Oh.
Now, have the two of you guys ever had Spam?
I think I have a long time ago.
Yeah, I have. My grandmother used to love Spam, and so she used to make, when I'd go stay with her, like when I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old, like she used to make me Spam sandwiches with cheddar cheese, like American cheese on them.
Okay.
And that's what she'd fry the Spam in the skillet.
Yeah.
And then between bread and the American cheese.
I feel like I couldn't have been any older than 8 or 9 the last time I had Spam.
I would probably guess it's been about. I haven't had Spam since I was.
I don't know that I honestly. I don't know that I've ever had Spam.
Isn't Spam like a big thing in Hawaii? Don't like the Hawaiians love Spam?
And like the Koreas, it's a big thing. I mean,
I don't think they have. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say they don't have spam in North Korea. I just feel like they don't allow.
Well, I'll give you that, but I think that's like a post World War II. I think like in parts of South Korea, like food vendors, food trucks, you'll find a lot of spam.
I
type
feel like
offerings.
as an adult, I have like gone away from the idea that it's okay to eat meat out of a can. Like,
are there other meats in cans? Tuna,
other meat
I guess
in can?
tuna.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, Scoot, not really in a can, but it makes me think of like in the Carolinas, you'll hear people talk about scrapple.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
And there's another, what else do they call scrapple, Guido?
I don't know, but there's Vienna sausages come in a can, I think.
Yeah.
Potted meat.
But like scrapple's more like sausage, miscellaneous parts, and they like fry it up and cook it like with eggs.
It's like America's version of haggis, isn't it? Like, it's like weird meat parts and
right. You don't really know what's in there, but it's gray and it can be fried up, and
it's kind of got a lot of parts that make sense, right? It's scraps, it's crap, and let's make it sound good. So apples sound good, so we'll call it scrapple.
I think scrapple gets called liver mush in
that
other
is
places.
Wow.
I think that's what the other name for it is.
So let me ask you guys this though: how often, like when you go to a fast food place, will you try whatever like like you go to McDonald's, they're going to have Big Macs, they're going to have Quarter Pounder with cheese, but like will you have the whatever they're calling this, the Oreo whatever it
Spammer?
is, like
yeah,
the Oreo spammer. Like, will you try? Like,
I would never try
when you go
this.
to McDonald's, like people freak out. Like people freak out when McDonald's brings back the McRib.
Right.
Or the Shamrock Shake.
Yeah, or the Shamrock. Like, will you go and try something that's like different on the menu at a fast food place?
Not really.
I get the same thing almost every time.
Yeah, I'm a tried and true person. I
feel like with places like that, you got to go with the thing that you know, and you got to go with the thing that's. safe.
I am 2 cheeseburgers, no pickles every time, and if I'm not, it's nuggets.
You can't special order.
Oh yeah,
you can't special
no pickles,
order.
man. I don't want that. Who wants a pickle on there? Come on.
Well, but I also, Guido, I like the high turnover items. Like, I don't want to order something that I don't know if it's been sitting there forever. Like I don't want to roll in and grab a fillet of fish. Yeah, I don't know how many people have had that today. That one's been sitting there for 6 hours.
They're churning out burgers like crazy.
I'm fine with
that. Fish might be sitting. The weird chicken might be sitting in the the thing for a while. So
I like. I like that McDonald's is offering something to members. Would you like to be a member?
Well, how exclusive is this membership?
Yeah, what kind of membership is
That
this?
sounds like a pretty horrific membership if that's what they're offering.
If the perks are this type of sandwich, I don't know that
Stu, what would entice you as a McDonald's aficionado? What would entice you to become a member?
I think if you like... I don't know. Maybe you get a value meal, one value meal a month for free or something like that.
Scoot, come on, cut to the chase. I know what gets Scoot in on this membership is free extra cheese whenever he wants it.
I would like an extra cheese slice on my burger. That wouldn't
He's
be bad.
in the door for that.
But I think maybe I saw a tweet recently about the apple pies from McDonald's and how they were like molten lava inside them.
Right.
Hot.
Yes.
Right.
I would do it for an apple pie. I love those suckers.
I mean, like, and this is what I don't get about fast food marketing, and maybe I'm not their target market, but like, so you have exclusive offers, you have these like spam Oreo things. You had McDonald's, didn't they just have like a couple months ago the whole thing with Travis Scott where they had like the Travis Scott meal?
Yeah, that's right.
And people flipped out about it, you know? And all it was a Quarter Pounder with cheese and then like
some other weird sauce on it or something.
Yeah, some weird sauce or something on it. I don't know.
What if they offered you the opportunity to develop your own burger?
They do every time. It's like you go and you tell them you don't want pickles. You've developed your own burger.
I guess that's true.
It's MTO, baby.
How about you, Guido? What's your go-to? You got a go-to place?
So I'm more of like I used to like Subway, but I'm kind of off the Subway thing now. I'm in the Jersey Mike's now. Like I'm hard on Jersey Mike's.
I like Jersey Mike's. I
I'm
also
ordering
like
Jersey
Jimmy
Mike's
John's.
like at least once or twice a week. I feel like it's a better option too. Like I feel like you're a little safer, with a Jersey Mike's. They prepare the food in front of you. You see them making the food.
It's all perception.
It doesn't come down some chute from some guy that's in the back picking his nose while he makes your Quarter Pounder with no pickles.
They're not doing that.
He is, man.
He's not doing that.
He is
does
back
not
there. He's
do
doing.
that.
You can't when you can't see them making the
Skeet's
food.
like, please don't let me think about that. Please don't make me.
Now, COVID times. Listen, COVID times. I've been laying off. I know it's probably safe, but I've been laying off a lot of the fast foods. I'll do a pizza. I do a pizza because I feel like a pizza is pretty hands off. Nobody wants to touch a scorching hot pizza as it's coming out of the oven.
Right.
But everything else, I really haven't messed with.
No McDonald's, no Wendy's.
Not really. I mean, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've had any fast food in the last 8 months, 9 months.
When the COVID goes away, Scoot,
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Where's the first place you're going? What's the first thing you're getting?
Back. That's a good question. As maybe unpopular as this may sound, I've always been a Burger King guy.
You like that flame broiled?
I like a flame broiled burger. It smells so good.
Yeah, I can't do that. Burger King is one of those things you eat it at noon, and at like 9 o'clock at night, you're still like, God, when did I eat this Burger King? It's like it's like it's still with you.
Now, see,
Wendy's
on the
is
other end
okay. Wendy's around here is pretty popular. It's okay.
On the other end of the spectrum, you have Johnson, who I don't think has curbed his fast food intake from Chick-fil-A at all since COVID hit. If
Well,
anything,
and I have
you
a
stepped
lot
it up?
I have a lot of Chick-fil-A eaters in my house, so one way or another, I'm either getting it myself or I'm picking up for somebody.
And here's the thing about Chick-fil-A that kills me. Like, McDonald's does this kind of stuff where they have the Travis Scott burger and they have the Spam Oreo burger. Chick-fil-A doesn't do anything like that. Like, it is chicken sandwich, bread. That's it. Everything.
Chicken
like,
sandwich, bread, and a
there's
horrific
like 4
pickle.
things on their menu. Yeah, right.
Like, hey, you like that nice bun? Let's ruin it. Let's throw a couple pickles underneath it.
Tea, sweet, not sweet, or half and half. That's all it is.
Yeah, and the thing about Chick-fil-A for me, it's almost like force of habit because I know they're going to be efficient and it's going to be correct and I can just go on about my business. It's not even that I just love the chicken so much. It's just if I'm going to go to a fast food place, just let me get some food, make it be correct, and then
I'm
let me
opposed
go on.
to Chick-fil-A.
Why is that?
Well, Scoot, the nearest Chick-fil-A to you is at least 35 minutes away.
Right. I'm opposed to it, though, because
Okay.
nowadays, when you go to a drive-thru to Chick-fil-A,
Yes.
they don't give you any chance to look at the menu because there's a long line and then they've got 15 workers out with iPads all
They
over
got
you.
the iPads
Give me a
out there
break. I want to
taking
look
your
at the
order.
menu. I don't know what I want yet.
But that's the thing, Scoot. There's only 4 things on the menu.
I
Do you
don't
want
listen.
the
I don't go there
original
enough to
chicken
know what
sandwich?
they got.
The original with
Dude,
cheese.
you're so old.
And here's the thing. When I do get the Chick-fil-A, I go with a wrap. I go with the cold wrap.
So you would prefer to sit in McDonald's 45-minute line?
We're all gonna be 65 and retired, living in Southwest
Boca Raton
Florida.
or something.
Yeah, Boca
Yeah, right.
Raton.
And we're all gonna meet at McDonald's every morning and
Yes.
get our coffee and our 99 cents.
Johnson will bring the pickles.
every day. Oh man.
The extra onions.
One thing I would not be ordering is the Spam Oreo mayo sandwich.
That doesn't sound remotely good at all. Like, I don't even know, okay, you want to go Spam and some sort of sriracha and cheese or something? Okay.
That sounds like the mixed stomach ache to me, is what that sounds like.
Well, thanks, Scoot, for the mixed stomach ache that you've sent upon us. Guys, don't forget, it's a busy week for you WVU fans. Lots and lots and lots of stuff to watch, including WVU Basketball playing Northeastern on Tuesday at 2 p.m. on ESPN+. And then they'll play again on Saturday at 4 p.m. against Oklahoma and at 9 p.m. on Monday against Oklahoma State. Right now, we're playing in the Liberty Bowl. That's New Year's Eve, 4 p.m. on ESPN, so definitely check that out. Everybody, thanks for listening this week. Don't forget, look for us on the social medias. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also look for us on Facebook, Got Your Ears On. And check out our website, Got Your Ears On. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Don't forget, we'll be back next week with another episode talking about WVU's bowl game and all these basketball games. So thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you have a great week. Happy New Year. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.